surface of Mars and explain how it could have happened. Now, social media is debating whether this actually looks like a bear. Others think it may have been a wolf or an owl, but scientists suggest that this may have once been an impact crater filled with deposits, which kind of explains this crack on in the circular area of this image. But it's also the middle of this kind of looks like a volcano. They think it may have been a volcano after that impact crater made the surrounding area, and then that volcano was formed. But whatever it looks like it had a good day. It looks happy to me.
Right. It looks like a child's drawing of a bear, but happy bear.
And then that volcano was formed. But whatever it looks like it had a good day. It looks happy to me.
Right.
Then a volcano after that impact crater made the surrounding area, and then that volcano was formed. But whatever it looks like it had a good day. It looks happy to me.
Right.
Great bottle of wine, an overnight stay at a resort, or a day at the spa, any of those we know would make great Valentine's Day gifts.
Oh,
gentlemen, come on.
Hint, hint, hint. Well, there is a place in North Georgia that has all three in one spot and much more.
Good day, Atlanta's Paul Milliken is live at Chateau Lawn Winery and Resort in Brazelton. And Paul, cheers to a Valentine's Day getaway. Look at you enjoying it a little bit too early with his robe and,
Oh my gosh.
and his glass of something in his hand.
Cheers
I
to
don't
you.
know if
Not
it's
just
day.
the robe. Wait, not just. Did we pan down to the sandals and the socks on?
Oh,
You are seeing a real Paul Milliken. You want to know what Paul Milliken looks like every weekend? This is it.
That's released a picture of what looks to be a bear on another Good Days. Ron Gant is here with a video you just got to see, and I got to see this.
Yeah, it seems like we see all kinds of things from space, right? Well, NASA shared it from the surface of Mars and explained how it could have happened. Now, social media is debating whether this actually looks like a bear.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need. With the money you saved, we tried electric unicycles.
I think I got it.
Doggy paddle, only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
If there's anything I can do for you, please just let me know.
You know what? Why don't we discuss this over dinner?
She still doesn't know how you really feel, does she?
What makes you think we should be together?
Everyone thinks you should be together.
well, ringing in the new year means a fresh start. And this morning, we are focusing on new hair trends for this season, which are color vibrant, richer, and healthier. Joining us right now, hair colorist from Rachel Red Salon, Rachel Red. Rachel, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for.
Well, turning to breaking news in Gwinnett County, that's where police have flooded a neighborhood in the Sugar Hill area. This is all happening in Sycamore Summit. Good Day's Caitlin Pratt is live there where neighbors say a SWAT team is involved. Right, Caitlin?
That's for sure. Just take a look at the scenario here behind me here, Elise. This is in Sugar Hill, just arriving here on the scene to quite a police presence. Not only Gwinnett County investigators here, their SWAT team deployed, other jurisdictions. What we've learned is this all started with some sort of encounter with a man in the neighborhood here in Sugar Hill. Officials with Brookhaven apparently trying to serve a warrant here to that man in the early hours of the morning.
Most of us have had at least one family member or close friend who's been diagnosed with cancer. Well, Jackie Ferris has heard those words, it's cancer, 3 times.
Wow. She learned today because of the power of early detection. Fox Medical Team's Beth Galvin is here now with her story.
And guys, this story, I think, is just really
Tuesday morning. Welcome back. It is 8 minutes after 5 on a really foggy start to the day. Fog is going to be difficult to avoid out there, and something that's going to stick around a little later into the day than it typically does. You got a lot of locations out there that have gone well below 1 mile in visibility from the North Georgia mountains. Moving best we're doing is maybe 1 or 2 miles.
The GBI is investigating an officer-involved shooting between a participant and her ex-boyfriend. Police say the officer got into a fight with her boyfriend and he attacked her at the murder station last night. She then shot at the man, striking him twice. Police say he got away but was eventually caught down the road on Decatur Street near Hill Street.
She was on duty in uniform, so that's another surprising aspect of this is that he would instigate fight knowing that she was number one, a police in uniform on duty.
The officer was cut and bruised during the fight. She's expected to be okay. The suspect is also recovering and is in police custody.
Now to a Fox 5 News alert out of Gainesville. Police say 2 shot outside of the Village Shops off Dawsonville Highway tonight. This is where the Old Navy and Ross Dress for Less are located. Medics rushed both victims to the hospital in critical condition. No custody. Police haven't said what led up to that shooting, but they do believe that there may be more than one gunman out there.
We're very fortunate that there were no other victims involved in this case because it is a highly populated area. People were out shopping, they were having dinner.
Investigators do believe that the victims knew at least one of the shooters. New tonight, the medical examiner has ruled the death of a Clayton County inmate as a homicide. The sheriff's office has just released video of that struggle.
Three teams are about to go into the ultimate Play-Doh competition. Oh, God. 3, 2, 1.
But first, a Marietta police major disciplined, including a 2-week suspension after using a derogatory term. Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Tom Haynes. Earlier this month, we told you grievances were filed against Major Patrick Benito, prompting an investigation. News reporter Denise Dillon joins us live. And Denise, you got a look at those initial complaints.
It has been a month and a half since a Paulding County man was killed outside his home. Deputies still don't know who's behind the crime.
Fox 5's Ken Loeffler spoke with his loved ones today who are desperate for answers.
Joshua Mitchell's wife tells me she doesn't want his case to be forgotten. She's asking anyone who knows anything about what happened to come forward.
When you don't know, at least when we know, it would bring a little bit of closure. But when you don't know, it's the constant questioning of why, who, come on, why would you come here? Why would you do that to him?
Nicole Mitchell says there isn't a second that goes by she doesn't think of her husband, Joshua.
He loved his experience that he gained and his friendships that he gained as a Marine. He began his journey, with, housing and flipping houses and things of that nature. Like they say with Superman, you can't take him down. And I saw him as Superman, that nothing was going to happen to him.
Paulding County deputies say neighbors along Warrington Drive reported hearing gunshots November 17th, and that's when deputies found Joshua shot to death in his driveway. The Paulding County Sheriff's Office and the GBI are
For the I-Team now, a Cobb County family says their 8-year-old home has so many water problems it's unlivable. And their yard is so saturated they fear that a sinkhole could swallow their home.
It has been a living hell, according to the parents who are fighting with their builder in court to get a new home. Senior I-Team reporter Dale Russell investigated to see what could be the cause of all that water. Dale.
We were very curious, and it was a mystery to Kristen and Dwight James. They say water issues having waste shut down their home. But where was that water coming from? A search on a GIS map gave them a surprising clue.
And you see it just seeping up through the cracks.
Take a tour of Kristen and Dwight James' House of Horrors.
And it'll go all the way down the driveway, right to the road.
Active hot water leaks surface through cracks and flood the garage, forcing them and their teenagers to turn off the hot water heater when not using it.
This happens all the time when you leave.
Every day.
So you have to turn it off.
We have to turn it off all the time or our driveway would be flooded.
Inside,
it's hot.
Mm-hmm. Hot water pipe underneath here.
Oh, wow.
It's obviously broken.
more leaks.
And then inside the shower, there's more cracking.
Master shower leaks seep down to the kitchen below, forcing the
Dozens of demonstrators turned out for another night of protest tonight in Atlanta.
That's right. Fox 5's Christopher King joins us live from the Old Fourth Ward neighborhood where dozens of people gathered to demand change. Christopher?
That's right, Courtney. They rallied right here at the Old Fourth Ward Skate Park. Now, why is that? Tyree Nichols was himself an avid skater. Protesters demonstrated for Nichols and for Manuel Terán, who was shot and killed during a conflict over the planned training center for Atlanta first responders, opponents call Cop City.
Scientific harm.
Dozens of demonstrators Monday night rallied peacefully against police brutality.
We need to continue to have attention on serious matters such as this.
They're protesting the recent deaths of Tyree Nichols and Manuel Terán. Terán died after state troopers opened.
The in-depth investigation by Marietta's police chief started when a couple of his officers filed a complaint against one of their superiors.
Fox 5's Denise.
Next. OMG, this wing is so hot. Spicy ramen.
That's the one.
Death of a Clayton County inmate has officially now been ruled a homicide. According to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, on November 28th of last year, 38-year-old Terry Thurman, who was being held on trespassing charges, was trying to jump from the second floor ballot pod. Other inmates tried to stop him until officers stepped in. After a struggle with those officers, they're tased. The officers directly involved were fired. That case is now being investigated by the GBI, and the cause of death has not been released.
Your help is also needed in the search for this young girl. This is 16-year-old Susanna Morales. She's reportedly been missing for 6 months now. Police say she was. Happening today, Governor Brian Kemp will join Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens in an effort that doesn't often get publicized. We're talking about the fight against human trafficking.
So we'll take a look at these numbers. Pretty incredible. Human trafficking hotline identified 281 cases in Georgia in 2021. 1,065 victims were involved in these cases. Meanwhile, the hotline got 1,073 signals from Georgia. That's more than a third of them from victims or survivors of human trafficking. Atlanta News First reporter Rebecca Strand is live this morning at Hartsfield-Jackson International. And Rebecca, this is a topic that clearly crosses party lines.
Absolutely, the Democrats and Republicans can certainly agree on this one. We're essentially talking about modern day slavery. And when you look at Atlanta, for example, which is, of course, the busiest in the world, it starts to make national human trafficking hotline rates Atlanta as half.
Developing right now is Dixon on-duty MARTA police officers being treated at the hospital following a violent encounter with her ex-boyfriend.
MARTA police say the sergeant opened fire on her ex-boyfriend after they agreed to meet at her job. CNN News First's Bridget Spencer is live from Grady Hospital this morning where that officer was taken for treatment. Bridget, what happened?
Good morning. We do know it was a fight that led up to the shooting. In fact, it was a pretty physical one and a violent one. That officer was taken here to Grady Hospital and she is being treated. And the police chief said she was beaten up pretty badly. Now, Chief Scott Craig, around 9 o'clock last night, they got a call for help from the sergeant who was at the Little Five Point station. He says the officer and her ex agreed to meet there just on Forsyth Street, just below the station. And that is when the fight started. Police say he was beating on her, and that is why she ended up shooting him in self-defense, is what they're saying. Now, officers did catch up with him and took him into custody. Both the suspect and this officer were taken here to Grady. The chief says there is still a lot to learn. They're still very early in the investigation.
So that's another surprising act.
All right, Rodney, this Tuesday started. We want to make sure that you know to give yourself extra time as you get out the door this morning.
Out here, you need the advanced optical design of Sylvania LED Power Sport headlights. Outwork, outstyle, outlast. Sylvania LED Power Sport headlights. See is believe.
Already concerning numbers heading in the wrong direction. Overdose deaths tied to fentanyl spiking in Douglas and Cobb counties. They have doubled since 2019. Atlanta News First Asia Wilson joins us live from Cobb County, and Asia, Cobb is getting hit especially hard with this.
That's right. Public health professionals say Cobb County has had a higher rate of opioid overdose deaths than the entire state since 2016. It's a sad reality. One family says they've experienced twice. Now they, along with leaders, are warning you so no one ends up at a hospital like the one you see behind me or dead.
We're having an opioid crisis in our community.
So this is Clover, a reality the O'Shields family lives every day.
Our daughter Clover passed away unexpectedly in September of 2021 of an accidental fentanyl overdose. Tragically, her sister went in that morning to find her car keys as she was going to work and found my daughter slumped over, embracing her baby.
Days before that,
her fiance died in our house August 25th of the same thing. And literally, she died from a fourth of one pill that was illegally pressed that had been added fentanyl to it. It looked exactly like, to me, a Xanax.
It's a problem, says Cobb and Douglas Public Health.
What we're seeing in the state of Georgia is an over 700% increase in kids dying of opioid overdoses. So we just want to get ahead of that in Cobb County.
Laura Duty is an opioid prevention and response coordinator. She says kids are thinking they are taking things like Xanax. Instead, it's fentanyl.
And that is what kills them because they are naive to opioids. They don't have intolerance. And they'll die.
I was completely oblivious. It was a huge shocker to us.
Oh, she was said.
At the village shops off of Dawsonville Highway. So Atlanta News First Chelsea Blindford joins us live. And Chelsea, police say this happened just before a busy time for shoppers.
Sean, it happened around 7 p.m. when people and families were out here. The scene is clear tonight, but it happened just back here between the Ross and Old Navy store. Again, the scene clear tonight, but the suspects on the run.
It's one of those that, as you can imagine, around 7 p.m., this was a very busy shopping center.
Monday night, shots rang out in the parking lot of the Village Shops of
Tonight, a building breakthrough that could make homes more affordable for Georgia families. There's now a push to change minimum construction requirements without jeopardizing safety. Atlanta News reporter Abby Source bringing us live at the state capitol. So these are changes that really could save homeowners, Abby, thousands of dollars.
Yes, that's right. With the population growing and more businesses moving to the areas, former person at the Capitol wants to know where are the workers going to live. That's why they are trying to
statewide and higher prices. The price for a new home over $300,000. That price has risen 40% in the last 4 years. Brad, the realtor, says the increase is shutting people out from buying a home.
People that get squeezed are looking for their first house, their last house. Some of our elderly want to be able to downsize, and they're not going to have that opportunity.
The Georgia Homeowners Association estimates that for each $1,000 added to the cost of a home, the amount exceeds the affordability of nearly 5,000 Georgia families. An additional 50. Republican Dale Washburn is working on a bill to change the statewide Georgia building code to change the size, materials, and siding requirements.
Nobody is trying to reduce that. Nobody's trying to reduce the quality of housing. This is about architectural design standards.
Mock says, for example, vinyl versus brick siding could save a homeowner thousands of dollars on their home price.
From a realtor perspective, for our association, it's all about increasing supply. Can we find ways that are safe to increase supply?
Right now, building requirements are up to local leaders in the Planning and Zoning Board. Jim Thornton with the Georgia Municipal Association says creating a statewide rule takes away power at the local level.
They want to maintain the look and feel of their community. They also want affordable housing. Sometimes these are compatible interests. Sometimes they come into conflict, but those.
Many concerning numbers headed in the wrong direction. Overdose deaths tied to fentanyl striking in Douglas and Cobb counties. They doubled since 2019. I mean, take a look. We had 4 Asia Wilson right now, who's live for us tonight to put these numbers into more perspective. Asia, good evening.
Good evening, Alan. Public health professionals say Cobb County has had a higher number of opioid overdose deaths than the entire state since 2016. It's a sad reality. One Kennesaw family said they've experienced twice, along with leaders, want to warn you so no one ends up at a hospital like the one you see behind me or dead.
We're having an opioid crisis in our community. So this is Clover.
A reality the O'Shields family lives.
Our daughter Clover passed away.
Protein products, because you wouldn't cut corners here. So why would you here? Cover with the world's most awarded best-selling whey protein powder, trusted by athletes across the globe for over 30 years. Gold standard 100% whey.
We switched to Liberty Mutual and saved $600. Big customers with my insurance, so you only pay for what you need. With the money we saved, we thought we'd try like the cycle. Careful, babe. Saving was definitely easier.
Hey, babe, I think I got it.
Okay, show off. Oh. Only pay for what you need. This is America's Test Kitchen, the next generation.
The home cook's battle to become the newest face of America's Test Kitchen.
The Test Kitchen, we have fun.
I'm being tested.
I am testing right now.
At the end of this, only one of you will be working with us. I really can cook. Please let me.
It's brilliant. What are we doing? Oh.
Never thought.
It's too hard, too exciting.
I believe that Congress will have, no doubt, several interesting proposed bills to consider in the coming sessions. And what I'm hopeful that we will see is clear direction from Congress and how they would like for us to proceed. We stand ready to take the direction of Congress as they would encourage us. We are prepared to collaborate with our sister regulator, the SEC, as we have done in the past.
That was CFTC Commissioner Kristen Johnson speaking on crypto regulation last week. Joining us now
are still out there that you don't have the answers to, that you are asking right now. What is it you want to know?
Well, to me, definitely something behind this because that's an overkill. That's an extreme overkill for something that did not involve any danger to the police. So I'm asking that they delve deeper and look and see what's behind this. Okay, you have that much force that's clearly beyond bail. Those many officers clearly beyond bail for a potential, violation, a driving violation. Harking back to part with it.
We are so grateful to have the opportunity to share this passion for good music. We've been through many ups and downs, but through it all, we've remained brothers. And have stayed true to our passion for music. I love you like brothers. Honestly, it's been an amazing ride, and heck, we'll be here in 30 more years because this is just the beginning. Danielle, my beautiful.
When dehydration gets real.
Hey, that's mine.
I'm going to get going. Advanced hydration isn't just for kids. Pedialyte helps you hydrate during recovery.
We see Stephanie Ramos joins me live from Memphis with more on this. Stephanie, what more do we know about these officers who were relieved of duty?
Well, we know that the sixth officer relieved of duty is Preston Hemphill, as you heard in the piece. And his attorney says that he did not go to the second location. He was only at the initial stop. You see in that video when he tries to tase Tyree Nichols, but does not as Nichols runs away. But his attorney also says that Hemphill is cooperating with the investigation, that we do not know the name of the other officer who's been relieved of duty, and that's because, as the department says, they don't typically release that information until the investigation ends, and as you know, this was just beginning right now.
And Stephanie, we're also expecting to hear from more alleged victims of the Memphis Scorpion unit, the unit these officers were part of. What can you tell us about that? ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer joins me now live for more on this. Brian, thanks for being on. The defense really hammered in on the fact that the state has yet to find the murder weapons here. And they also questioned a law enforcement agent who said she could not rule out the possibility of two shooters. How big was that?
It's pretty big, Diane. It's all about creating reasonable doubt, not having the actual smoking gun, and there's a reason why we call it a smoking gun, is detrimental to the prosecution's case. And then creating this alternative theory, where it could have been two other people based on the position of the bodies, the type of guns, and actually the type of ammunition used. Defense attorneys say you just need one. So if one juror believes it, that's a not guilty, or at least a hung jury.
Brian, yesterday the jury heard audio of Murdoch's interview with police days after the killings, and it's raising some questions about his alibi. The prosecution says cell phone records put him on the property that night. That's different from the story he told police. Is that enough for prosecutors to prove he was involved?
It might not be enough, but it's definitely on the path to getting there. Prosecutors and detectives like to present cases to jurors in the same way that they discovered the facts, so that the jury can walk along the same path and ultimately, they hope, find the defendant guilty. But it's up to the defense to break apart parts of that path to say, hey, this is reasonable doubt, this is reasonable doubt, this is reasonable doubt. You shouldn't believe this story. I'm not sure if it's enough, but it's definitely on the right track for the prosecution.
Brian, as we hear more from investigators and from a Verizon official, what are you listening for?
I'm listening to how exact this Verizon expert or employee can put Alec Murdoch on the scene of the crime and the timing. A lot of the triangulations when it comes to the ability to track us via our very phones is dependent on where these cell phone towers are. And when I hear a 1,700-acre property in South Carolina, I'm thinking, well, how close can you triangulate these cell phones?
All right, New York City homicide public defender, ABC News contributor Brian Buckmeyer, thank you.
Darkness Patel in court Monday after being convicted of 3 counts of attempted murder. Patel allegedly drove his family off Devil's Side Cliff, Pacifica, in early January. Emergency crews arrived to find the car at the bottom of the cliff with significant damage. Patel's wife, daughter, and son were in the car with him when the car crashed.
Secretary of State Anthony Blinken in Jerusalem today, meeting with Israeli and Palestinian leaders amid escalating tensions and a surge in deadly violence. Foreign correspondent James Longman is on the scene in Jerusalem. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning, George. Anthony Blinken is in the West Bank now, meeting with Palestinian leaders during this huge surge in violence here in the Holy Land. Friday's terror attack on a synagogue was the deadliest by a Palestinian against Israelis in more than a decade. And Israeli operations in Palestinian communities have killed 35 people in January. That's a mix of both militants and civilians, but among them, 8 children. It makes it the bloodiest January since 2015. Secretary Blinken also had some vague criticism for the new right-wing government here in Israel, not just about what it means for the conflict with Palestine, but also for the rule of law here more general. Secretary Blinken also is now meeting with the Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas about the two-state solution, reaffirming the United States' commitment to that solution. But Mahmoud Abbas himself is losing legitimacy. A lot of Palestinians are fed up with him after 18 years in power. It feels like we're on the road to more violence, not peace. George.
It certainly does. Okay,
It is that time to reveal our GMA book club pick for February. Janae Norman has it. She's going to take it away. I tried to just get a sneak peek. She was like, no, you got to listen.
I said, no, you got to listen. You got to buy the book. I don't think you have to buy the book, but you got to read the book. It is for anyone who has lost that love and moved heaven and earth to get it back. This is a debut novel that you're going to want to read in one sitting. So let's see what it is. Here we go. It is River Sing Me Home by Eleanor Shearer, and here she is with more.
Good morning, America. River Sing Me Home is about a mother's fierce love and what it means to be free. Set in the Caribbean just after the abolition of slavery, it's about a woman, Rachel, who's looking for her stolen children. I was inspired by the women in the Caribbean we know really did try to put their families back together again after.
Communities don't just happen. They're built by people. From the big moments to the small acts of kindness. It's the authentic connections we make that define us. At Alpha Insurance, we know that every day you're building things that are worth protecting. Because for us, this is more than coverage. It's who we are. Alpha Insurance, building tomorrow together.
New York Times best-selling author is taking on now the story of a famous and controversial release date of the new Lifetime movie, Gwen Shamblick, Starving for Salvation. Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Now, I confess, I had not heard of Gwen Shamblick before. Tell us about her.
I hadn't either. I got the offer and I immediately Googled this person who I had no understanding of who she was in the world. Turns out there's more information on the internet about this woman than the Kardashians.
What did she do?
Well, she was a diet guru, started off at this church in Tennessee, very kind of small. She really wanted to lose weight with God's help. So with her church, she came up with this program. It got really popular. She wrote a book. It was, I think she sold millions. Over 20 years, people were completely devoted to her. And then in Tennessee, where it is, you don't find a lot of churches founded by women, she founded the Remnant Fellowship Church. And there she became a prophet. And all of these followers did whatever she said. She had very, very strict ideas about how to lose weight, very, very extreme. And people would do whatever she wanted. And that she said, you know, you should beat your children with hot glue sticks on their bare skin for discipline. And if That didn't work. You could lock them in the room for 3 days with just the Bible.
Oh, that's delightful.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the clip.
I don't think the dress is the problem, Tammy. You have put on a lot of weight. I don't know if you pounds. Oh my gosh, Tammy, come on, Gwen, I can lose it. In 3 days? I can't have you up on the stage looking like 10 style.
Some companies are going all out for the big game commercials, and this morning we have a first look at how my friend Primetime Deion Sanders is transforming into father time for one ad. Will Reed is here with the details. Good morning again, Will.
Good morning, Michael. Dion is crushing the media game just like Michael Strahan. He's all over the place. The Super Bowl is as close to a captive audience TV event as can be. You've got football fans from the diehards to the casuals, folks just there for the halftime show, people at parties participating in a fundamental American tradition. All told, it's hundreds of millions of eyeballs. So if you've got a product, it's a good time to sell it. Just be
For advertisers, the Super Bowl is